This just in, a federal judge just ordered that Donald Trump's spending freeze be blocked until Monday, February 3rd at 5 p.m., overruling the Department of Justice's claim that the federal judge had no authority to intervene. This is being reported by Politico, by Kyle Cheney. Also, we're aware of what went down at that hearing. So here's what went down, just so everybody remembers. The Office of Management Budget, even though they still have an interim head, that Russ Vogt, the author of Project 2025, he hasn't even been sworn in yet, but he's got his fingerprints all in this. The interim heads are basically all reporting to him anyway. They're implementing their Project 2025 agenda, and they basically ordered a spending freeze across all of these spending, all of the money the federal government gives out. With two exceptions that were actually flagged was for Social Security and Medicare. But there was no reference to Medicaid. There was no reference to SNAP. There was no reference to things like suicide hotline for veterans. There was no reference made to just all of the type of federal funding that is utilized by people every day to live. I mean, we're talking about childcare, Head Start, home care, school lunch, Medicare, Pell Grant loans, veteran health care, veteran loans, funds for suicide prevention, homeless shelter support, and more. But Harry, these groups came in. There was a few civil rights related groups, the National Council of Nonprofits, American Public Health Association, an organization called SAGE. They filed this emergency injunctive request asking that this federal judge just press pause. Trump's DOJ, despite these initiatives being massively unpopular, they swoop into court and they're like, nah, we want this. We don't care if Americans are going to suffer. And these groups that are suing, they shouldn't even be allowed in court. They have no standing to be here, which is also kind of part of a delay tactic for Trump's DOJ to make, saying until we can determine through discovery or other means that these parties should even be here, there should not be a pause at all. The federal judge was like, look, there's a lot going on here. People could be dying. People's rights are on the line. So we're just going to pause everything until Monday. I want more briefing, but next Monday we'll sort through this. So, Harry, what do you make of first this sweeping order where now, before we were talking about all federal foreign aid was removed, now all domestic aid is done, the response to it, and what do you expect to happen next?
Okay, so everything you say, that list, and then more, the federal government has its fingers everywhere and provides necessary help everywhere. You know, HIV wasn't on there, but all kinds of help of that sort. Everything is choked off. As calm as you hear me trying to keep my voice, that is how incredibly dangerous and vicious and indifferent Trump is in this order. And just as you say, I'll get to the law in a minute, but you make the right point. It's just a completely nasty assault on so many aspects of the federal government that people rely on day to day. People could die here and people will clearly suffer. Moreover, there's a reason that the judge, and a little aside, is the judge is from the DC District Court. So one of the members of the court, he's going to have to go to them all the time, whom he totally kicked in the face by granting all these pardons, and they've all said so. They start with very little credibility. But of course, Trump now is going to do this and marshal the entire resources of the federal government, the DOJ. He doesn't care, and if he loses a few, he still doesn't care. What's the possible, well, let me take it from the other side. Can you do something like this? You cannot, it seems clear to me, but we've never ever faced anything close to it. But we are back in the sort of third grade world that Trump paid somebody to go attend for him, where the Congress makes the laws, the executive executes the laws. And this is the legal area here, Ben, is called impoundment. And it's pretty well recognized that maybe the executive at the margins can withhold or delay a little bit, but this is the same as just negating the law that Congress passed, and it passed for the executive, whether it's Biden or Trump or whoever. If J.D. Vance and Trump both die, it's the Speaker of the House. It doesn't matter. This is a command under the core Article 1 powers of the Congress saying, here's some money, spend it on this. And for him to come in and say, no, I'm not going to, and not with any kind of specific constitutional objection. There's a really ridiculous little two-page memo that just says we really want to evaluate if this is in the interest of the American people. You know, excuse me, but fuck you. The Congress has decided this. People are waiting for this by the hour and the day. So it's not just the breathtaking lawlessness of it, but the cruelty and indifference of it. What is going to happen? I do think we've never faced it before, but no less than the Office of Legal Counsel, a very pro-executive power group, has said you can't do this, not this kind of crazy impoundment. The DOJ is going to continue to press the standing claim, and especially as you get higher up, and you have to imagine this goes to the U.S. Supreme Court, is there the possibility that the court, some members of it certainly, will say, oh, this is terrible, but sorry, wrong plaintiff, something like that. That's something we'll have to look at. Otherwise, one would say confidently, this cannot stand. And in general, you and I have talked about this before with birthright citizenship. You can't have a lot of confidence in the U.S. Supreme Court, and just their existence and their previous actions are a terrible sort of wild card here. But to my mind, Ben, this is so out there, so basic violation of separation of powers and what Congress does versus what the executive is permitted to do, that unless they try some bogus crap with standing, and you got to imagine there's 2 or 3 ready to do it, the U.S. Supreme Court will, in fact, strike this down. So I think what happens soon, they have the hearing. This judge on the D.C. District Court extends the stay, and the hearing will be on a more permanent injunction while they try this. They'll be able to appeal the permanent injunction. It'll go through the D.C. Circuit and up to the Supreme Court, and still on the question, do we enjoin the whole thing? And given the balance of the irreparable harm it's already happening, and the balance of equities, all of that, you have to imagine that they will, unless the Supreme Court gets funny with standing law. But this, I'll end where I started. Man, oh man, oh man, it's no longer a break glass moment. The fire has started.
Harry, the plaintiffs are going to cure the standing issue to the extent there is a defect. I don't know with these specific groups, the specific traceable injury such that they're saying that they have this injury, in fact, to make their standing claim. They appear to be different civil rights and nonprofit organizations. I'm assuming one of them gets some sort of federal funding, but if they don't, what won't happen is they're not just going to go to next Monday and not address that and dot that I and cross the T. So what I expect will happen as well, whether there's a bunch of other lawsuits that are going to be filed by states, and then underneath the states, various other groups that are being impacted by this, and then joined in the DC case, by the time Monday rolls around, standing won't be the issue. There will be a party that was injured. I give these organizations, almost regardless of me fully analyzing the specific standing claim, which may need to be drawn out in discovery, they got that lawsuit quickly, and they saved lives, those groups.
That's right. Right now, people are getting much needed, mother's milk from the federal government, which really is their due. It's why we have a government, and this jerk is trying to just shut it down. And I think your point is very well taken. Look, in general, the court tends to shy away from what it thinks of as ideological, generalized grievances. This couldn't be less that case. We're talking about money, necessary money flowing every day, every week, every month that's now been cut off. So as you say, there are scores, countless people who are injured the minute this would go into effect.
Harry Littman, thanks for breaking that down. We were right there on top of that issue. First thing when that Office of Management and Budget memo was sent, we did a video on it. It's on our YouTube channel. Folks, you got to subscribe to the Talking Feds YouTube channel as well. I know you're already subscribed here, but make sure you subscribe to Harry's channel. It's called Talking Feds. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got his Talking Feds podcast, and he's got his Talking Feds Substack. Harry was top leadership at the Department of Justice. He was a United States attorney in the Western District of Pennsylvania. He knows this stuff. He clerked before 2 Supreme Court justices. You're going to need credible, detailed, meticulous legal analysis. It's why I'm proud to do these videos with Harry, and it's really why it's imperative reading and imperative viewing the Talking Feds Substack, YouTube, and podcast. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.